Hi, Aygun speaking. Haldun and myself prepared this presentation. I hope you will like it. Let's start. First of all, let me try to show you what narrative research or narrative inquiry is. Connolly and Clendenin suggest that narrative inquiry is increasingly used in studies of educational experience. It has a long intellectual history, both in and out of education. The main claim for the use of narrative in educational research is that humans are storytelling organisms who individually and socially lead storied lives. For this reason, the study of narrative is the study of the ways humans experience the world. In other words, education is the construction and reconstruction of personal and social stories. Taking into consideration the potential benefits of narration, how to analyze narration is important too. Various approaches to analysis have been proposed. One approach by Pavlenko, for example, addresses the form-content relationship. Analysis in this approach focuses on the forms of telling about experience, not simply the content. Another approach is by Bamberg. In the positioning analysis of Bamberg, narrative data is analyzed with a focus on content, form, and context. Bamberg defines positioning as in and through talk, the speakers establish what the talk is about and the particular social interaction in the form of particular social relationships. And in the business of relating the world that is created by the use of verbal means to the here and now of the interactive situation, speakers position themselves in relation to the world out there and the social world here and now. Positioning analysis operates on three sequential levels. The first level is the content of the told story. The second one is the interactive construction of the story. And the last one, the discourses within which narrators position themselves and by which they are positioned in the story. Then, what is the purpose of such an analysis? Bamberg explains the purpose of such an analysis as an effort to uncover the process of how positions come into existence and how they assist the construction of a sense of self and identities. The storyteller's interactive engagement in the story's construction is central to the positioning analysis process. This is because identities come into existence and are interactively made visible. Positioning takes place at three levels, moving from local to global. In the first level, we can ask some questions. The first question is, what is the story about? Another one is, how are the characters positioned in relation to one another within the reported events? And the last one is, who are the characters and why are they positioned this way? In short, at this level, the focus is on the content, who the characters are, and how they relate to each other. In the second level, the question to be asked is, how is the speaker positioned and how does he or she position himself or herself to the actual or imagined audience? The focus at this level is on the performance of the story in a particular interactive setting. And in the third level, we now have enough information to make assumptions about the ideological positions within which narrators are positioning a sense of self. Now, Haldun is taking over.
Yes, the background information that Aygun has just given will help us to understand the study carried by Barkerism. The aim of the study was to investigate Selah's emerging teacher identity as a pre-service English teacher, imagining her future working life. And the data collection conducted 4 written interviews, 3 interviews, and regular meetings during the 8 months. As explained before, the positioning analysis has 3 levels. And in the first level, close attention was given to the constructed represented world of characters and events. As a narrator, Sela is the main character in the story. She positions the characters, including herself, and in relation to the story. And also, what is this story about? Focuses the analysis on the content of the story and the linguistic means used to establish the characters and events in that story. Here, 2 things are important. The focus must be on the content and also form of the story. Not only the content, but also how the story is described also has importance. And again, in the first level, Sela has constructed positions as both pre-service teacher and staunch member of the Tongan community. And here is a conflict between the culturally inappropriate English curriculum and Tongan adult learners. Sela thinks that the curriculum is not appropriate for Tongan adult learners. That's why it creates a barrier for them to learn English. So she works towards solving the problem as a mediator. So working towards resolving the conflict as a mediator is what gives her future work a purpose and impacts the ongoing construction of her imagined teacher identity. So the aim, resolving the conflict, creates the backbone of her identity. And after describing the characters and the events, now we can move on to the second level of positioning analysis. Here, the focus is on the performance aspect of the story. The interactional means employed for getting the story accomplished. In the interview, Sela holds the floor, and Gary's role can be described as a supporter and prompter. That's why we can say that it is interactional. And linguistic resources were also used to construct interactively both the story and the local understandings relevant for both participants. And here the word local is important because in the second level the focus is only on the local dimension. But in the third level of positioning analysis, who am I and who do I imagine myself to be in the future? They are of paramount importance. Why? Because in this level, the story content, which is described in the first level, and the interactive storytelling, which is happening in the second level, transcends into a broader dimension. And the 2 questions have the broader dimensions. And positioned within the 2 dominant discourses of immigration and language teacher education, Sela makes identity claims about herself, who she is and who she wants to be. And trying to find the answers to these questions, Sela has come up with some identities. The first one has a Tongan migrant. And second one, teacher. We have no problems understanding these 2 roles. And the third one is activist, mediator. What drives Sela's desire to be a teacher is her deep underlying motivation to help her family and her community. That's why she takes up an activist teacher position, because she thinks the migrant characters are disadvantaged. That's why she takes the role of a mediator. And the last identity is investor capitalizer. What do we mean by investor or capitalizer? Sela has invested in language teacher education with the expectation that her university studies, and specifically her teacher training, will yield returns for herself, her family, and the Tongan immigrant community. And what are the implications for teacher education? Providing spaces for teachers to examine their imagined roles, their roles in the future within a community of peers, and to hold those roles up to the mirror of current theory and practice allows them to evaluate and rethink their ideas about teaching and their imagined roles. And this is quite important for teacher education. Thank you.